right, welcome back to the Levine Family Racing Podcast. Totally different look for us this week. We are recording this on March 24th, so we are in the midst of the coronavirus. We have set up this week on Skype. I'm joined by Jeremy Lange, president of Levine Family Racing, and Jeremy Davidson, the vice president of sales and marketing for Levine Family Racing. So first and foremost, we hope everyone is staying safe out there, staying healthy, and being around their loved ones and just staying safe. These are crazy times, so we appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully give you some stuff to keep your mind off everything for a little while. So JD and Jeremy, let's talk about how COVID-19 has affected our race team.
Well, I think the easy thing to discuss and talk about is just the new norm everyone's talking about. And our new norm is we're practicing social distancing as a race team. We're trying to do our part. We were closed all last week just to kind of monitor and kind of oversee what was going on. And we decided to readdress the situation, take it day by day and week by week. And we opened the shop yesterday for kind of a partial opening where we have rotating shifts, as you may say it, and we're limiting people access to the race shop. No one who works for the team can come into the shop. We're practicing social distancing at the shop. People are working in different areas. We're really treating this as a second off season of sorts. Small projects, large projects that weren't able to get done leading into Daytona, we're focusing on. Obviously, I think those projects may go by pretty quickly, but as I said earlier, we're focusing day to day, week to week, and we're continuing to monitor, obviously what the governor of North Carolina says, what the president of the United States says, as well as what the CDC says. And we're trying to do our part, and it takes all of us to do our part to kind of obviously help control the situation. But it's definitely unique in a sense where you kind of race 4 races and then you take a race off, take another race off. And I think the biggest question mark we have out there is when do we go back to racing? Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's throwing the uncertainty is what's kind of got people on edge the most and got them concerned. But we have to kind of follow in the lead of what NASCAR is telling us. And, we've all been told that the goal of NASCAR and the goal of all the stakeholders in the sport is to race all 36 races. And until we're told otherwise, we're looking forward to getting back to the racetrack and getting back to what normal life is for us. And that's going, Thursday to Sunday to different markets and racing in front of thousands of fans and millions of people on TV.
Yeah, it's easy to just get caught up thinking about how you're affected and how we're affected as a team and are being thrown off of not going to the track each weekend during the season. But we've had calls with people that we've been talking to from a business development standpoint. And in fact, we had one the other day speaking to a gentleman. His wife is a nurse, and through her care of one of their patients at the hospital, she was coughed on and came down with the virus. And so you hear stories like that, and you're like, man, this is a real thing out there, and people are in danger in a lot of cases and putting themselves in harm's way. And so really thankful for the people that are caring for and serving the communities and the people that are affected by it. But, we're a sports team, we're entertainment. And so a lot of cases, a lot of people are sitting at home looking for something to do and watch or connect with virtually. And so we've had to reshape the way we do our conversations, whether it's Skype calls or Zoom or whatever the case may be. But there's so many different things that are taking place out there that are just a new norm for business these days. And I think what you're looking at from a business standpoint, a sales, marketing, communications, is there's going to be a reset on how business is done as we go through this time. And so we're trying to navigate in a sensitive manner right now, not really pushing any, hey, we're looking for new sponsors on this, that, or the other, but being cognizant of the greater, challenge in the world today, and being sensitive in those conversations and really using it as a time to build relationships and check on people and how you doing? Is there anything we can do to help you? Hey, stay safe. We look forward to talking to you soon. And so that's kind of the mode of our conversations out of this side of the race team.
Yeah,
I think this podcast is a perfect example of how our daily life has changed, right? I mean, our last podcast was face to face, and this podcast is different offices, me at my house, and using Skype to do this. Luckily, technology has advanced so far that we were trying to do this 10, 15 years ago be impossible, right? And also, luckily, technology has advanced thus far that hopefully it allows us to combat this coronavirus and to Jeremy's point, reset, hit pause for the time being, then hit reset and start over, not fresh, but from a different starting point or from where we continued.
Yeah, I think kind of hightailing off what JD said there with the relationships and how it's really a time to build those relationships. The last time we had Jeremy Lange on, we talked about how it's Levine family racing, and it's not only family in the race team, but it's the way we try to treat everyone we interact with as family, right? And it's one thing to say it on a podcast; it's another thing to put it into action, right? And it's given us an opportunity to do that, and how much do you guys see the biggest difficulty being right now? Just being the unknown of everything, right? Like we don't know. We know Martinsville. Yeah, but there's still a large unknown around everything. How much does that hurt what we're trying to work on right now?
I think from a racing standpoint, I mean, our sport's different than other sports. Whereas, you go look at the NBA, they were halfway through their season, right? Mm-hmm. Baseball was just getting started. Hockey through the first part of halfway through their season. Those athletes and teams almost have to go back to training camp of sorts because they've been off for a long period of time. Luckily, our sport's different and unique in the sense where if you give us a couple of weeks, we can get race cars ready. Our racers and our teams are, ready to go back and ready to get back to the racetrack. And I think, it's not as easy as it sounds, but you build race cars, go to the racetrack, put the driver in the car and go. There's not a have to go back to training camp or go back to spring training or go back to do this to get ready to go back to Martinsville May 9th. If NASCAR says, hey, we're racing May 9th, we're all going to be there and we're ready to roll. There's no, well, what do we do? How do we get our team back together? I mean, we're all ready to go. And I think that's one thing we're looking at. And then, the thing I wonder about is, are we racing in front of race fans? And if you are allowing race fans to come, do they want to come? Do they want to go to the racetrack? I know they're hungry for the sport and they're hungry for sports in general, but safety's got to come first. And I think you're going to, JD talked a lot about the new normal or what sports looks like or what the landscape, the reset. I think fans are going to have to make decisions also as far as do you go? What do you risk? Is it worth it? Because you said it, Tom, our family's in our name. We treat our employees like family. We treat our fans like family. We treat our sponsors like family. And, ultimately you got to take care of your family first and then, focus on what you do outside of that inner circle or inner group. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. I mean, I think we go back racing. When? I don't know. I'm hopeful that it's May 9th. With fans, without fans, I think, people are anxious to have content on TV to watch.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to watch and see who the first sport will be to go back and what that looks like when they do go back. If there are fans in the stadium, in the stands, whatever it might be, or, a closed off arena, to keep it just to the competitors or the teams themselves. So whoever is first to get back is probably going to receive a big crowd in terms of viewing. But at the same time, fans are going to have to, if they're able to go live in person to see these events, they're going to have to make a choice, like Jeremy's saying. How do I feel about this? And, I know personally it's one of those things. It would be a, family conversation, no pun intended there, but make sure everybody feels comfortable about going back. But we're excited to get back. And just from talking with other people in our office and on the team and the partner side of things, everybody's ready to return to the track when the time is right. And I think you have to be smart about it. And I'm grateful for NASCAR taking their time to try to make sure everything's in place and the right protocols are being followed, the right questions are being asked, the right people are being brought into the conversation, so that they make an educated decision and as they guide us through this time.
What do you guys think? So it's crazy to think about, but we were in Daytona 5 weeks ago.
It's crazy, isn't it? It seems like 5 months ago.
It seems like an eternity ago.
I mean, right? I was just talking to someone today. I mean, tomorrow will be 2 weeks without sports.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and it seems like it's been 2 months.
Right.
It's been 2 weeks, right? And we're all going to adjust it to it. It's crazy to think. Yeah, you're right. Daytona was 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago.
Yeah. So the next question I'll kind of roll into is, we did not get off to the start of the season that we wanted to on the racetrack, right? So how much can we try to use this as an advantage advantage isn't the right word for it, but almost an opportunity to regroup on things, right? And kind of go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, I think there's only so much we can do because NASCAR's put a little bit of restriction on what can and cannot be done from a competitive standpoint, mainly to save the teams from themselves, maintain social distancing so that teams aren't putting themselves at risk, because it all takes is one case in the sport and then you kind of are looking at a bigger issue. I think, though, what it allows us to do is go back, and our engineers and crew chief and driver to go back and look at those races. It's a small sample size. If you think about it, we really only have a race and a half to 2 races to analyze, right? In the sense of Daytona's Daytona. And then Vegas, obviously, our race ended early. And so it's not a full race to analyze. And then you had Fontana, where we had an issue with the jack stop bolt going to the radiator, so not a full race to look at. You really had Phoenix is the only race we've completed. So it's a small sample size, but you can still go back and look at those things, look at the SMT data, go back and look at simulation and the sim tools we have. But it allows our engineers kind of just to regroup, take a step back, and re-energize themselves as well as because getting through Daytona and the West Coast swing it's grueling. It's a lot of race cars, a lot of work goes into that, the prep work. So it really allows us to take a step back and re-energize the batteries, let engineers, crew chiefs, and the competition side look at data and while also trying to get our shop in a spot where we're ready to hit the ground running when NASCAR says go.
Right.
Yeah. The other thing I would just add into what Jeremy's saying is, you think about the start of the season and you're going through such a build up and preparation to get to Daytona because your off season's 2 months or so. And it's a short time to get a lot done. You get down there, you kick it off, and then you're straight out to the West Coast. You're in Vegas, you go to you come back, then you fly out to California, you come back, you fly out to Phoenix, and you come back. And so you're like in this mode of go, 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 because you're not really sitting still because of the pace of the schedule and the travel. Then all of a sudden the brakes are hit and you're just like, squealing on the brakes, and you're sitting still, and you're not leaving your home very much. You're staying in town. You're not traveling. So that's a really awkward shift for this industry that's used to, once it starts up, they're going every week, and they're, some people are going 4 or 5 days out of the week, just depending on their roles. But it's an awkward time to just kind of sit still in the spring. And it hit me this past weekend. I was thinking, all right, well, we got a week off or whatnot. And then I was like, wow,
you got 7 weeks off.
Like 6 weeks before we go back, or whatever the number was. I was like, that's crazy. It's hard to believe that it's going to be that long before we go back to a racetrack. So there's an adjustment period for all of the industry personnel that are involved in this sport as well, because of the constant travel every week that some people may or may not realize.
Which is also why I think we got to be smart about when we go back. And I'm like you said earlier, I'm glad NASCAR's taking the time, because we are a traveling circus of sorts, right? We all come from different areas. We come to a market, we put on the show, and we all go back to our markets, right? You have officials that are driving from all over the country. You have teams coming from Charlotte area. You have teams traveling different ways, different forms of transportation. we have to be smart about what we do, and we have to be socially aware of what's going on. So I'm glad, to your point, I'm glad NASCAR and the stakeholders, teams, tracks, and the sport, and as well as the media partners, are taking their time in looking at this to make sure that we don't come back too soon, we don't go back too late, and hopefully it's just right, and it's, you know, what we get comes to fruition. So we're not keep delaying.
Yeah. So another thing I wanted to pick your guys' brains on, and it kind of hit me end of last week once I think we got over the initial shock of there's no sports, right? What really started to hit me was the power and the reach that sports has, right? Where so many things are affected right now, not just in the sports world by what's going on with the coronavirus, but time and time again, what you see on social media and what you see on TV even is people talking about how they're bored or they don't have anything to do because there's no sports. And to me, it was a very interesting look into just how much sports means to people's lives, right? I mean, it's pretty obvious to see that if you're a fan of a local football team, basketball team, or even a NASCAR team, a lot of your life gets wrapped up in the success of that team, and not just the success of that team, but the fact that they're out there competing. You guys have any thoughts on that?
It's part of your everyday life. You don't realize how much sports is part of your everyday life until you turn on SportsCenter, and there's not a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, I was kind of mixed emotions with the NFL going through free agency and starting that, because it was like you have people who are not getting paid, and you have it's tough because then you have athletes signing these multi-million-dollar deals of guaranteed money. But I also understand the NFL is trying to maintain some sort of normalcy, right, to continue on with their schedule, right? And they put parameters in place so that there was no interaction with face-to-face interaction. It was all, Tom Brady didn't go visit Tampa Bay like he would have done in years past. It was all done via email, phone, Skype, whatever it was, right? It's just different. So different times. But you don't realize how much sports plays in your daily life until it's taken away. And, to the point that I'm watching like old, like Big East tournament games. And I'm like, Oh man, when Ray Allen played Georgetown with Ray Allen and Allen, I mean, it's just the battles of, you realize it's neat to go back, but it's almost depressing how much we rely on sports to get through your day, and that you look forward to watching Scott Van Pelt on SportsCenter at night or whatever it is. But I credit all the guys in sports are trying to find different ways to talk about things. And, I think Scott Van Pelt does a great job. SVP is doing a great job on SportsCenter of playing tribute to the teams that were making it to a point and had their seasons taken away. And we're fortunate enough, I believe, and I hope, that our season is still going to continue. You look at these high school seniors and college seniors that had one chance to win a state title or to go to the NCAA March Madness and play in front of thousands of people and millions on TV for one shining moment. What they say is March Madness, and that was all taken away from them. No fault of their own. It was just taken away, like instantaneous. I mean, I go back 2 weeks ago, we were watching basketball on TV. Mm-hmm. There wasn't, people talked about coronavirus, but it wasn't like, oh my God, like tomorrow there's no more sports. Like, I don't know if people would have taken it more serious. I don't know. But if you were to tell me 3 weeks ago, hey, you won't be playing sports going to the racetrack, you won't be watching sports going to the racetrack 3 weeks from now, I would be like, no way. Now you look back, it's like, man, I mean, were the signs there? I don't know. I'm not involved in that, but it's like, you realize how much sports plays into your daily life. It's the cooler talk, right? It allows the banter. It's why it's called, fanatics, fans. I mean, people live and die for sports, and people are hungry to get more information or whatever from their teams, and right now it's just like radio silence, and it's got to be, it's painful for all of us, those in the industry. Like JD said earlier, it's the entertainment business. Sports and entertainment go hand in hand, and I think in this day and age, people are looking for an escape. Sports is almost an escape from the 9-to-5 job. They go home, you have dinner with your family, and you get to turn on the TV and just sit back and relax and watch a game. And that's taken away. So, but the good part about it is, I think it's allowing people to find different avenues. I mean, family time. We talk about the new norm. Having kids home from school while you're trying to work is difficult. Trying to maintain teaching a kid, a fourth grader, which I have, while doing your job. I went to fourth grade a long time ago. I don't want to go back to fourth grade, but I'm trying to help her get through that stuff. But it's new to them also. So it's these ever changing times. We try and we go and do recess time. We go out for a bike ride or something, maintain our social distance from other people. But the amount of people out and doing things, it's families, is refreshing to see versus being home on your couches watching TV or watching YouTube or watching in front of so I'm hopeful that this changes not only the business landscape, but the family landscape, where people can actually spend more family time and go out and do things as a family, because you don't have those other things, those crutches that we've had most recently to fall back on.
Yeah, I'll echo that. 2 points. I've always told people when I'm trying to describe, I do a lot of, hey, this is what NASCAR is about. This is what it's like to be at the race, with our team, and trying to set it up for them. And so through that, I always talk about this emotional connection that takes place. And I think it's true whether you're on site or you followed a team throughout your entire life, or your family are diehard, Carolina Panther fans, or whomever the team might be. So there's a connection that takes place, and you take that out of your life, and you've almost got this void, this hole that people are looking to fill. And like Jeremy's saying, we've been doing the same thing. I've got 3 teenagers at home, and we're out walking in the evenings, and we're doing school during the daytime, and everybody's kind of fighting for space in the place to, computer screens to get their assignments turned in, or look at, research wise. But there's also this sense of, it's a family reset as well. It's almost refreshing to think about it from a perspective of, we constantly go all the time. And now there's this opportunity to, okay, yeah, this is why I married you. This is the fun times I remember having, with the kids and so forth, because 3 teenagers, you're constantly going in the evenings when you are in town. And so to have everybody home and to actually eat dinner together, it's a novelty. I mean, it really is. It doesn't happen that much in the craziness of life, but this has been a good time to be able to get back to that. And I go to, my son's a senior in high school. And so, we've kind of looking at the college thing as you're talking about, athletics and schools and recruiting of kids. And so we've got a lot of kids that have been watched by recruiters for various sports they've played, and some in baseball. And so you're looking at that last senior season, which they were ready to really hammer it down and, get the big calls from the colleges. And those things aren't happening now. And the colleges are kind of pushing back some of their dates. And so everybody's affected by this, no matter what age you are, no matter what vocation you have, it doesn't matter. Everyone, and it's crazy to think everybody in the world is affected by the same thing right now. I was talking to a guy yesterday, because our fire suits are made by Alpine Stars, which produces things out of Italy, and he's got family in Sicily, and he was saying, hey, they're closed down. Like, it's not happening. Like, you are not going to get a fire suit anytime soon. And it's unfortunate that, those circumstances are out there, and it's short-sighted sometimes on, oh, come on, I got to have that now. We've got a deadline we're trying to meet. And there are people that are sick across the world. And so kind of keeping that perspective as we go through it, I think, is important. Not saying we've lost that, but it's a lot of times we can be self-focused so much on what we have going on right in front of us, and to miss the big picture.
I joke. I mean, I think we've eaten dinner as a family of 4 in the last 10 days, more so than we have the 3 months prior. Yeah. Just to your point, sports, jobs, travel. I mean, two parents that travel, work. I mean, kids that play different sports and different nights, and it doesn't. And JD, it never syncs up, right? So baseball and volleyball are never the same night. They're always different nights. So it doesn't matter. And it's even if they're the same night, they're different times. So it's like a parent and child eating dinner here, a parent and child eating dinner here, and you're crossing, and you're getting home, and it's homework, bath, bed, whatever it is. It's allowing the reset with the family as well as the reset on the business side.
Yeah. Yeah.
So part of our new normal here over the last week or so has been not the introduction, but the iRacing series being brought more to the forefront of the NASCAR culture, right? We have the Pro Invitational Series. It aired on Fox Sports 1 this past Sunday. It sounds like it'll be making its return this weekend at a virtual Texas Motor Speedway. So what were your guys' takeaways of the first iRacing race with Cup Series stars taking a part of it?
I'll go back to the void. I said that sports has left, and I think that viewing of the Pro Invitational filled a little bit of that void for folks on Sunday when they were able to see cars on track. And even though it's, a game, a racing game, a video game, it's a pretty good simulation of the real thing. And I know working with the iRacing folks in the past, it's pretty accurate, and just like they were saying on the broadcast. And so it was just fun, and I think it was good for the sport. It was good for the community. It was a very positive experience, and it was fun to see, people having fun and not taking themselves too seriously on the broadcast, which was refreshing. But the day before, we also had the NASCAR Heat Pro League series do a $10,000 shootout as well, and so you've got a whole different grouping of gamers. These are just everyday people that have practiced playing video games, and now there's this whole esports movement that's kind of risen over the last couple of years, and so much so that we have a team that participates in the NASCAR Heat Pro League, and very different than of but it still kind of shows the power of this virtual world that's come to kind of risen up over the last couple of years. And so I thought, both those events were well put on, and iRacing was neat to see, because there you had the professionals that you typically would see racing the real cars in live action, to see them, joking around and having fun. And that was cool. It gives people an insight and view to kind of a little more personality who these guys are. And so I thought it was a very positive experience. I'm glad they're going to try it again. And I don't know, Jeremy, what did you think about it?
I agree with that. I think my one takeaway is I wish we had reset buttons at Talladega and Daytona. It'd be great to have two resets, pull out a car and go back in the track without losing spots. That to me seems a little goofy, but I understand why that guy do it, because these guys, not all the drivers were iRacers per se. They're race car drivers, but you got guys in there who were doing it for the first time, or who had done it in the past but haven't practiced. And then you got guys who do it all the time, right? Like Ty Majeski races all the time. And you got Denny, who's raced a lot over the last years, and he's got a, estimated, I read $40,000 iRacing rig or simulator, which is just crazy, right? I mean, but it was the part that I enjoyed the most was you had guys who basically had a laptop, pedals, and a wheel, racing guys who had so you had, I'm going to make it up, a $2,000 rig versus a $40,000 rig, racing the same. It's almost like it's the old race what you brought type of mentality, right? And but I like that part of it, and I really enjoyed the resets, because I think it's hilarious watching Rex and then said reset, and I'm like, wait, what, these guys are back in the race? How's that working? I guess you get two resets, and then you're out, and then you're on a time clock. So I would propose that NASCAR brings that back. We could have used that in Daytona, we could have used that in Las Vegas, and we could have used that in Fontana this year. So those would have been my three resets.
There we go.
Just call them in next time. We need one.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're just gonna hit We'll hand Jeremy a red button in the pits that if something happens, he can just hit a red button and reset it.
Control Alt Delete and just start over fresh type of thing.
That's right. That's right.
I've mentioned before in podcasts that I've always viewed iRacing and the Heat Pro League, the console games, as it's not as easy to go race a car as it is to go shoot hoops to play basketball, right? Or go to a batting cage to play baseball, something like that, right? I think
for you two, it's pretty tough actually.
Listen, man, I had too many.
That was coming.
That was a bad thing to bring up there, Dano.
I had too many tacos. But I think a big part of not only was it cool to see something on TV, right? But it was also, I think, an interesting way to show people like, hey, this product is out there and it's a cool, relatable touch point to NASCAR, right? And iRacing and console gaming is a way to usher in kind of a new generation of fan, right? Getting people who are interested in the technology fields and things of that nature. So it was cool to bring that to the forefront. Again, it's making the best of this new normal that we're finding ourselves in right now.
Well, I would add to that. I mean, you said it. Anyone go out and shoot hoops, right? But you can't go shoot hoops with LeBron James,
right?
Whereas you can go race Denny Hamlin and Dale Jr. tonight if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And there's invitations now. I'm not sure that's good, bad, or different, but I think it allows our fans a unique connection point to our drivers that other sports fans can't get ever, or especially right now. I mean, LeBron's not playing. You can't go do a free throw contest or play a game of horse with LeBron James right now. You can go race Denny Hamlin, Dale Jr., whatever it is. Now, not the invitationals, but any given time there are iRacing races going on that are, Dale Jr. says I'm racing tonight, and people just log in and start racing them, right? I mean, so it's a unique in this strange time. It allows our fans a chance, to watch them in the invitational races and also compete against them any given time, which is different and unique. And, we all drive cars. So we always say our fans can relate to our drivers because they drive cars day in and day out. They don't drive cars 200 miles an hour, but this allows anybody to race against our drivers and personalities at a given time, which is pretty unique and kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys kind of already talked about it, but the final thing I was going to talk about today was just what's everyone been doing with their quarantine time? Man, I know it sounds like you guys have been busy.
Yeah, you need to come teach some kids.
Huh? You don't want that.
Come teach. No, I probably don't.
You don't want that.
I think it's just trying to, keep, part of the day to day is trying to keep the ship pointed in the right direction, right? And we the goal is for us to go back to racing, and you got to maintain some sort of scheduled normalcy so that you can get back to racing when we get back to racing. So it's not, our belief is the guys are working smartly and safely in the shop and doing projects here and there so that when it does come back time to go racing, we can hit that full boat, right? And full steam ahead. And then you gotta maintain some sort of sanity also. So, at home here, we play board games. So we have a sequence tournament going on where it's me and my daughter versus my wife and my son. And not to brag, but my daughter and I are like waxing the floor with my wife and my son. And it gets a little competitive, but that's just what we do in our household. We're very competitive. We've been playing a lot of horse, shooting a lot of hoops, hitting a lot of baseballs off tees, getting ready for the baseball season, which may or may not ever start. I wish they were playing because now I have the time to coach. So, yeah. But it's it's trying to maintain. The kids don't know any difference. To them, it's just another Saturday or Sunday plus schoolwork. For us, we're trying to think big picture as parents and what we're doing in our day-to-day job. So you try and disguise or hide the real issues going on with some fun, but at the same time, you got to focus on the day-to-day, and the job's still there. So you're trying to juggle many different things. So it's maintain sanity is what I'm trying to do. So.
There you go.
JD?
Our house, we've tried to be pretty regular with getting out, and where we live, we've got a nice walking trail that we're able to take the dog around on. And so it's getting out and getting fresh air and exercise. But then at nighttime after dinner, it's like family movie night almost every night. And so
Who
when
picks?
it's not, we just rotate around. So we watched, I'm terrible with movies and names and actors.
Tom's worse.
Beverly Hills Cop?
You had your teenagers watch Beverly Hills Cop?
Yeah.
Banana in the Tailpipe? Wow.
Yep. So wanted to, having worked along Tom for the last couple of years, I felt it was important to expose him to 80s movies, right? And because Tom, when we always said, "Hey,"
list. There are a few you probably don't want for them to watch, but
so we've been doing that, and also binging on some Netflix series as well. So,
if you you're letting them watch Narcos?
No, but my right or wrong, my oldest son's been watching Prison Break, and which is pretty interesting.
Next thing he'll watch Peaky Blinders.
No, not going to watch Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, so we did movie night last week. We did, or I guess it was Saturday night. We did popcorn, and the kids picked, and they picked Aladdin, not the cartoon, but the Will Smith movie.
Oh yeah,
it's actually enjoyable for a Disney flick. I mean, I napped for about 30 minutes to be honest during the movie, but I didn't miss much. I woke up and I knew exactly where I left off, so they're quite predictable. Yeah. So no, movie nights are good. I find we're eating a lot of junk food, which is probably not the best thing in the world, but it's the problem being home is you're at the office is not a lot of snack foods, right? There's waters, sodas and stuff, not snack foods. Here, it's like the pantry is right there. So I can go get anything I want that we have at any given time. And, thankfully my wife has stocked the house, thinking this is going to be like a 9-month lockdown, but I think we're keeping the economy going just from Publix and Harris Teeter and Costco. But, the snacking is the part that, it's ever present and always available. So,
yeah, with movie night at our house comes cookies. And so we're making cookies every night.
So you're baking cookies, making them or buying them?
Baking them. So
okay.
we're at the point. Well, yeah. So we're at the point where, me, I try to eat a little weird sometimes. And so
vegan chocolate chip cookies is what you're making.
Yeah, I'm going for vegan cookies from here on out. So
they make vegan chocolate. Have you tried it?
Yeah, I know.
It's actually really good. It's not bad.
Yeah. So
Dana, you should try it.
I'll take your word for it.
Dana, what are you doing for dinner? Being a bachelor, living by yourself in your bachelor pad, what are you doing for dinner?
I'll tell you what, quarantine has taught me a lot about my cooking proficiencies and many deficiencies. I've done pretty good. I've been getting like a bunch of ground beef and just making tacos and chicken breast and all that good stuff. I got a Foreman grill, which is like the best thing that's ever happened to me. So I've been cooking a lot on there, but then, frozen pizzas, peanut butter and jellies, the whole 9 yards. But
so it's like being the track for you.
Yeah, basically.
Nothing's changed.
Uncrustables
and Totino's pizza rolls.
You cut me open. I run off of pizza and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, man. That's about it. But,
so without sports being on and no Sixers basketball and Phillies baseball for you to watch, what have you been watching?
Well, I've been watching The Blacklist on Netflix, so I've been binging on that. But then I have
how great is that character?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
He's fantastic.
So I just started season 3, and toward the end of season 2, they were starting to lose me a little bit, but then it flipped last night. Of course, it flipped last night at about 11:30 at night, and then I was like, "Well, I can't stop now." So next thing I was up to like 1 a.m. watching The Blacklist. But I've been I built a dynasty on MLB The Show with the Phillies, so I'm living vicariously through that.
How far back did your dynasty go? Because I know you're a fan of like the 2000s and a baby 2000s. So
I started with the current roster and I built an empire around Bryce Harper. So yeah. I mean, it's fun. It kills the time, that's about it. But no, we're all looking forward to getting sports back. And
do you go back and is Mike Schmidt your third baseman, or do you go
No, I I try to keep it
Do
realistic.
you know who Mike Schmidt is?
Oh, heck yeah, I know who Mike Schmidt is. You kidding me? Yeah. Michael Jack.
Is Lenny
baby.
Dykstra playing center field for you?
Dude, Lenny Dykstra is not. I am a big Lenny Dykstra fan, though. That guy is an absolute crazy person. I don't know if you've seen him like since he retired from baseball. He off the.
He's a real estate tycoon. I use tycoon. I mean, isn't he serving time?
I don't know if he's in or not.
Didn't he own car washes?
No, you're thinking of Jose. You're thinking of Canseco, aren't you?
Okay. No, I think either way, Lenny Dykstra is definitely is a nut right now.
Yeah. So I'll give everybody homework. Go and check Jose Canseco's Twitter feed. It is the ramblings of an absolute crazy person, and it's some of the most entertaining stuff you'll ever see in your life. He goes on rants about how if you're ever in prison, you need to make friends with the mice, because the mice run the prison. Yeah, he's a fascinating creature. But
that'll be my afternoon. Thanks.
There you go. So thank you both for your time. I appreciate you guys doing this. Everybody listening or watching, we're going to do more podcasts over the next coming weeks. Look for interviews with these guys again. I'm sure I'll rope you guys into helping me out again.
Happy to do so.
But no, we appreciate everybody listening. Stay safe. Listen to what everyone's telling you about social distancing and everything. And we'll talk to you all soon.
Thank you very much. Do your part. Be safe.